What happens when two of country music's biggest voices sit down for what was supposed to be a friendly, low-stakes interview, and it spirals into a confrontation so sharp that one of them ends up walking off set for good? What began as subtle tension between Kelly Clarkson and Miranda Lambert soon escalated into a clash that nobody in the studio could have predicted. And by the time it was over, the entertainment industry was left stunned, asking the same question: what exactly was said in those final, unfiltered moments that made Kelly decide she was done? Keep listening, because the last line Miranda delivered didn't just end the interview, it changed the entire narrative around their relationship. That afternoon, the studio audience filed in expecting the warmth, humor, and easy charm that had become synonymous with the Kelly Clarkson show. Kelly stepped onto the stage with her usual spark, greeting everyone with that familiar down-to-earth energy. This show had become her sanctuary, a place where she could connect with people in a way that wasn't about charts, genres, or music politics. Here she could celebrate stories, uplift voices, and share laughter. She had built something genuine, something that felt like home. Miranda Lambert was scheduled as that day's featured guest. She and Kelly had orbited each other for years, crossing paths at award shows, appearing at the same charity concerts, exchanging quick hellos backstage, but they had never sat down for a real, unfiltered conversation. As Miranda walked onto the set, there was something different in her expression. Not anger, not quite, but a guardedness that didn't match the usual upbeat tone of daytime television. She took her seat opposite Kelly, and once the cameras began rolling, the atmosphere shifted almost imperceptibly. Kelly opened the interview the way she always did, warm, relaxed, conversational. "Miranda, it's so good to have you here," she said with a smile. "I feel like we've been in the same rooms for years, but never really had the chance to sit down like this." Miranda gave a tight nod. "Yeah, well, I'm here now." It was a small moment, barely noticeable to anyone unfamiliar with the delicate rhythms of celebrity interviews. But Kelly sensed the tension immediately and tried to ease into safer territory. She brought up Miranda's new album, praising its rawness, its vulnerability, the emotional honesty that critics had been celebrating. "I just write what I feel," Miranda replied, her tone clipped. "I don't think about labels or whether something sounds vulnerable. I tell the truth, that's it." Kelly nodded, trying to maintain the flow. "The truth is powerful. That's why people connect with your music. There's such authenticity in it." "You'd know all about authenticity," Miranda said. The edge in her voice was unmistakable. Kelly's smile faltered for just a moment. "What do you mean by that?" Miranda leaned back, arms crossed, eyebrows raised. "I mean, your whole brand is being relatable, right? America's sweetheart who won a singing competition and stayed humble. Kelly Clarkson, everyone's favorite girl next door." Kelly inhaled, steady but surprised. "It's not a brand. That's just who I am." "Is it though?" Miranda pressed, her eyes sharper now. "Because from where I'm sitting, it seems like you've figured out exactly what people want to hear. Every interview, every appearance, it's the same polished version of you. It's a performance." A stunned silence washed over the room. This wasn't playful banter. This was a direct challenge. Kelly straightened. "I'm not performing anything. I'm being myself. If people connect with that, then I'm grateful." Miranda didn't let up. "You've never calculated a response. Never thought about how something might play on camera. You're just naturally perfect at all of this." Kelly felt something tighten in her chest. She had spent years doing interviews, navigating pressures, maintaining grace while juggling scrutiny, career shifts, and personal struggles. To have all of that dismissed as an act, it stung. "Miranda, if you've got something to say, just say it." "Fine." Miranda leaned forward. "I'm tired of the act. I'm tired of people pretending to be something they're not to get applause. You want to talk authenticity? Let's talk about how you left country music the second it stopped serving you. You pivoted to pop when that's where the money was, and now you sit here interviewing country artists like you're still one of us." Kelly's cheeks flushed. "I didn't leave country music. I explored different sounds because that's what artists do. We evolve." "You abandoned it," Miranda shot back. "And now, on this talk show, you get to play music expert. You get to interview artists who stayed loyal to the genre you walked away from. You ask us about authenticity while reinventing yourself a dozen times to stay relevant." The words lingered in the air, heavy and unignorable. Kelly could feel the audience watching her, waiting. A part of her wanted to cut to commercial, end the conversation, and protect her dignity. But another part, the part that valued honesty, even when it hurt, refused to look away. Something had broken open, and there was no turning back. Kelly hadn't expected the conversation to go this way. She hadn't expected the calm, measured questions she'd prepared to unravel into something raw and personal. But as Miranda's accusations hung in the air, she realized there was no turning back. This wasn't an interview anymore. It was an unfiltered reckoning. Needed to hear this. Kelly repeated, her voice quieter now, but lined with steel. You think I reinvented myself just to stay relevant? Miranda didn't flinch. I think you did what you had to do, she said. And there's nothing wrong with that. But don't sit here and act like you're some beacon of authenticity when you've changed your entire image, your sound, your brand, everything, multiple times to keep the spotlight on you. Kelly took a breath, steadying herself. She didn't want to lash back. She wanted to be understood. I changed because I wanted to make different music, she said. Because I grew as a person. Those changes were real, Miranda. They weren't calculated. They were survival. Miranda repeated, an eyebrow raised. The disbelief in her voice bordered on mocking. You were at the top of the charts. You had money, fame, fans. What exactly were you surviving, Kelly? Kelly looked down for a moment, and when she lifted her head, something in her expression had shifted. The practiced calm had cracked just enough to reveal something real. I was surviving the version of me everyone else needed me to be, she said softly. The expectations, the pressure, the constant demand to be the same girl I was when I won that competition. I was suffocating. So yes, I changed, I explored, I grew. And I'm not going to apologize for that. Miranda watched her for a long beat. At least you're being honest now, she said. I've always been honest. Kelly replied. No, Miranda countered, shaking her head. You've always been polished. There's a difference. The word hit Kelly harder than she expected. Polished. It echoed in her mind like an accusation she'd spent years avoiding. She could feel a dam inside her starting to crack, years of smiling through judgment, years of suppressing frustration, years of meeting every criticism with grace. Polished, she echoed slowly. You say that like it's a crime, like treating people with kindness, like being professional, like trying to make audiences feel good, like that's somehow fake. It is, Miranda said, when it becomes a mask, when it's the only version of you anyone ever sees. When you're so busy being the polished version of yourself that you forget who you are underneath. Kelly's voice trembled, not with fear, but with the weight of everything she'd never said aloud. And you think you know who I am? I think, Miranda said plainly, that you don't even know who you are. I think you've spent so long being what everyone else wants that you lost track of the real Kelly Clarkson, if she ever existed. The audience went completely still. This wasn't just uncomfortable television. It was witnessing a wound get pressed, then pressed again. Kelly's hands trembled slightly, but she anchored them on the armrests, holding her ground. You don't get to make that judgment, she said, her voice low but fierce. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know the battles I've fought behind the scenes. The moments I stood up for myself when it would have been easier to stay quiet. You see polish and assume it's fake. Maybe the polish is what keeps me sane. Maybe it's the thing that stops this industry from chewing me up and spitting me out. Miranda stepped forward a little. Or maybe polish is how you avoid ever being vulnerable. Ever admitting you're not perfect. Ever letting people see you struggle. I've talked about my struggles, Kelly insisted. I've been open about my divorce, about my weight, about all the pressure. You've talked about them in the safest possible way. Miranda shot back. You package your struggles into neat, inspirational sound bites. That's not vulnerability, Kelly. That's branding. Something inside Kelly snapped. She stood abruptly, and the audience gasped. She didn't walk off, not yet, but she needed to move, to break free from the feeling of being cornered. You came on my show to tear me down, she said. Why? What did I ever do to you? Miranda rose too, meeting her energy with her own intensity. You didn't do anything to me personally, but you represent everything I hate about this industry. The performative kindness, the calculated authenticity, the way people like you get applauded for being nice, while people like me get labeled difficult for being honest. People like you, Kelly repeated the words sharp. You mean people who use honesty as a weapon, who mistake cruelty for truth-telling? Miranda's jaw tightened. Kelly continued, voice rising. Yes, Miranda, you're honest, brutally, painfully honest. But honesty without compassion isn't noble, it's just meanness dressed up as virtue. Miranda shot back instantly. And compassion without honesty is just people-pleasing. You want to be loved so badly that you never challenge anyone. When's the last time you disagreed with a guest? When's the last time you pushed back? This show is so safe it's practically padded. Kelly's temper finally broke through. This show is a place where people can feel safe, she said, voice shaking with emotion. Where they're celebrated, not attacked. If that makes me a people pleaser, fine. I would rather be someone who lifts people up than someone who uses truth as an excuse to tear them down. Kelly stared at Miranda, stunned by the bluntness of the accusation. But Miranda didn't flinch. I don't make people feel small, she said firmly. I make people face reality. There's a difference. Your reality? Kelly snapped back. Your version of the truth. And anyone who sees things differently is just fake, just performing, just scared, right? Did it ever occur to you that maybe people aren't afraid of being real? Maybe they're just different from you. Maybe their version of authenticity looks different than yours. For a moment, something flickered across Miranda's expression, doubt, recognition, something almost human. But it vanished just as quickly. She straightened, her voice cool. I came here thinking maybe we could have a real conversation. I thought maybe, just maybe, you'd drop the act long enough to talk to me like a human being. But you can't. You're too far gone. Kelly let out a short laugh, but there was no humor in it. You came here looking for a fight. Don't pretend this was about having a conversation. You wanted to prove something, to tear me down on my own show, to create a moment, to show everyone that Kelly Clarkson is a fraud. Well, congratulations. You've made your point. You've made me look bad in front of my audience. You've created your moment. Is that what you wanted? What I wanted, Miranda said quietly, and her voice had shifted into something more intense, more focused, was for you to be real. For once, I wanted you to admit that this whole thing is exhausting, that pretending to be perfect is killing you, that maybe you're tired of being Kelly Clarkson the brand, and you just want to be Kelly the person. The words landed deeper than Kelly expected. Buried inside the hostility was a thread of truth she didn't want to acknowledge. She was tired. She was exhausted from having to be composed, warm, gracious, exhausted from performing even when the performance was simply being herself. But she refused to let Miranda weaponize that vulnerability. You think you're helping me right now? Kelly asked. You think this tough love act is going to crack me open so we can have some big emotional breakthrough? This isn't help, Miranda. This is you projecting your issues onto me. Miranda's head jerked up. My issues? Yes, Kelly said, her voice steady. Your issues. You're proud of being difficult, proud of being the one who tells it like it is. You've built your entire image on being the outsider, the rebel, the one who doesn't play by the industry's rules. That's your brand, Miranda. So don't come at me about authenticity when you're just as calculated as anyone else. Miranda's face flushed red. I have never calculated anything. Everything I do comes from here. She tapped her chest hard. Not from a marketing meeting. Really? Kelly asked. Every controversial statement, every feud, every time you go after someone publicly, that all just happened. None of it was ever about maintaining your image as the tough, no-nonsense, brutally honest country star. Miranda fired back. And being kind is who I am, Kelly said. But you can't accept that because it doesn't fit your worldview. In your mind, nice people are fake and mean people are real. But it's not that simple. Some of us are genuinely kind. Some of us want to make people feel good. That doesn't make us frauds. Miranda shook her head slowly, almost pityingly. You really believe that, don't you? You really think you're just naturally this sweet, perfect, lovely person? I never said I was perfect, Kelly replied. I said I was kind. And yes, I believe that. I work at it every day, because the alternative is becoming bitter and angry, and using my pain as an excuse to hurt other people. The implication was unmistakable. A murmur rippled through the audience. Miranda's expression hardened into something cold and sharp. You think I'm bitter? I think you're hurt, Kelly said softly. I think something, or someone, hurt you deeply. And instead of healing, you turned it into armor. You made it your personality. And now you can't take it off, because if you do, you'll have to face whatever you've been running from. Miranda's eyes narrowed dangerously. Don't psychoanalyze me. You're not my therapist. No, I'm not, Kelly said. But I am someone who's been where you are. I've been angry. I've wanted to burn everything down. I've wanted to stop being the nice girl and tell everyone exactly what I thought. You know what stopped me? Not fear, not people pleasing. The realization that my anger was only hurting me. Lashing out feels good for a minute, but it doesn't heal anything. I don't need healing. Miranda shot back, her voice icy. I need people to stop lying to each other and calling it kindness. And I need people to stop hurting each other and calling it honesty. Kelly countered. We're at an impasse, Miranda. You think I'm fake. I think you're cruel. Neither of us is going to change the other's mind. They stared at each other, two women from the same world, shaped by the same industry, carrying different wounds, and neither willing to back down. And in that electric, painful silence, everyone watching realized the same truth. This wasn't just an argument. This was two versions of authenticity colliding, one polished, one jagged, and neither willing to surrender their definition of what it meant to be real. Miranda stared at Kelly for a long, heavy moment, her expression tightening in a way that wasn't quite softening, but wasn't anger anymore either. It was something closer to resignation, an exhausted clarity settling over her features like dust after a storm. You're right, she finally said. This was a mistake. I shouldn't have come here. Kelly leaned forward, her voice no longer sharp but truly curious. Then why did you? If you hate everything I represent, if you think I'm some packaged fraud made for daytime TV, why agree to be on my show at all? For several long seconds Miranda said nothing. The silence stretched, thick and uncomfortable, pulling every pair of eyes in the studio toward her. And when she finally spoke, her voice no longer sounded like a blade, more like a bruise. Because part of me wanted to be wrong about you, she admitted. Part of me hoped you would sit across from me and prove that it's possible to be successful and kind and real at the same time. But you couldn't. Or I couldn't. Either way, it didn't happen. Kelly's voice rose, not in anger but in disbelief. Miranda, I've been nothing but real with you this entire time. I let you question me, attack me, dissect every part of who I am and what I've built, and I answered honestly. What more could you possibly want from me? I want you to admit that it's hard. Miranda cut in, and suddenly her voice held something raw and almost desperate. I want you to admit that being in this industry, being watched, expected to perform every second of your life, breaks something inside you. I want you to admit that you're not okay. That none of us are okay. That we're all pretending and praying no one notices. For the first time since the confrontation began, Kelly stopped speaking and actually looked at Miranda, really looked at her. Beneath all the hostility, all the sharp words and sharpened identity, she finally saw it: fear, loneliness, the quiet terror of believing you're the only one drowning, while everyone else appears to float effortlessly. Miranda, Kelly said softly, I'm not okay all the time. I have days where getting out of bed feels impossible. I have nights where I cry myself to sleep wondering if any of this means anything. I get overwhelmed. I break. I fall apart. But I also have good moments, real joy, real connection. And I've worked hard to focus on that instead of letting the darkness swallow me. That's not what you show people, Miranda murmured. But the bite was gone. Because showing people only my worst moments doesn't help them, Kelly replied. My job, at least the way I see it, is to be a light. Not to pretend the darkness isn't real, but to show people that you can survive it. Miranda's jaw tightened. And my job is to tell the truth about the darkness. Then maybe we're not so different. Kelly offered gently. Maybe we're just shining on different parts of the same thing. But Miranda shook her head. No, Kelly, we are different, fundamentally, and that's okay. But I can't sit here anymore under these lights having a conversation that's eating both of us alive. So yes, I'm leaving. She stepped toward the edge of the stage but paused, turning back. For what it's worth, I don't think you're a bad person. I think you're doing the best you can with what you've got. We all are. Then why all of this? Kelly asked, gesturing helplessly at the space between them. Why attack me if you don't think I'm some villain? Miranda inhaled slowly, and when she spoke, the words were the most honest of the afternoon. Because watching you be okay makes it harder for me to justify not being okay. Because if you can smile and hold yourself together, then what's my excuse? Why am I still angry? Why am I still fighting shadows? Maybe it's easier to believe you're fake than to accept that some people actually figure out how to live with all this. The confession hung in the studio like a fragile piece of glass. Kelly felt something shift inside her, a mix of tenderness and a bone, deep exhaustion. She said quietly, You can figure it out too. It's not too late. Maybe, Miranda replied, but not here. Not like this. She glanced around at the cameras still rolling, the audience frozen, the entire set humming with the tension of a moment too real for daytime television. This is exactly what I hate about the industry. Everything becomes content. Every breath becomes performance. Every second is judged. She turned and began walking toward the exit. Kelly watched her, feeling the weight of the moment settle around her shoulders. The producer was undoubtedly yelling into someone's headset, debating whether to cut to commercial, whether to salvage the show, or end it entirely. But Kelly wasn't thinking about broadcast schedules or PR fallout. She was thinking about what Miranda had said, about performance, about pretending, about being consumed by the very machine you're trying to survive in. She looked out at the audience, their faces tense and expectant, waiting for her to fix the moment, to wrap it in something palatable. And suddenly she felt overwhelmingly tired. "You know what?" Kelly said, loudly enough for Miranda to halt at the doorway. Miranda turned, confused. "What?" "You're right," Kelly says, "as a performance, all of it, not because I'm being fake, but because everything we do ends up being consumed. Every moment is content," Kelly said, her voice steady but carrying a wariness that felt decades deep. "Every conversation becomes fodder for clips and think pieces. Every expression turns into a reaction meme before I even walk off the set." She gestured to the cameras, the lights, the audience. "I can't have a real moment because the cameras are always on. I can't be vulnerable because it will be edited into something cute or tragic, whatever sells best. I can't get angry without being labeled difficult. I can't be sad without someone deciding I'm spiraling." Her eyes glimmered, not with tears, but with clarity. "I can't just be human. Humans aren't good television." The entire studio fell silent. Even the air seemed to pause. Kelly turned her gaze directly into the lens of camera one. The unblinking red light that had watched her for years, the mechanical witness to her curated life. "I started this show because I wanted to connect," she said. "Because I wanted to bring joy, comfort, music, conversation, something real. But somewhere along the way, it stopped being about connection. It became content. Ratings, viral clips, manufactured moments." She exhaled shakily. "And I am tired. I am so tired of performing my own life." She lifted her chin and spoke toward the control booth, knowing her producer was listening. "I'm done," she said. "Not just with this episode, with all of it." Her voice was calm, almost serene. That calmness made the statement land with the force of a bomb. A collective gasp swept through the audience. Some people covered their mouths. Others grabbed the hands of strangers. Even Miranda, still frozen near the edge of the stage, stared at Kelly with an unreadable expression: shock, guilt, maybe even respect. "Kelly?" Miranda began. But Kelly raised a hand gently. "Don't, this isn't your fault." Her voice softened but did not waver. "You were right about one thing. I've been holding myself together with polish and professionalism and positivity, and I didn't realize how much it was costing me." She swallowed hard. "You asked me to be real, and here is the real truth. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to smile through pain. I don't want to turn my struggles into something inspirational for the camera. I don't want to be Kelly Clarkson, the talk show host." She paused. "I want to be Kelly, just Kelly, whoever she is." She turned back to the audience, their stunned faces illuminated by stage lights. "I'm sorry. I know this isn't what you came to see today, but I can't keep giving you pieces of myself and calling it a show. I need to figure out who I am without the cameras, and I can't do that here." With that, Kelly stepped away from the chairs, away from Miranda, away from the expectations of 1,000 silent onlookers. She crossed the stage without looking back. No dramatic pause, no final smile, no attempt to soften the moment. She simply walked off, leaving Miranda standing alone, leaving the audience breathless, leaving the cameras capturing a stage suddenly empty of its star. In the hallway, away from the glare of lights and the weight of eyes, Kelly leaned against the cool wall and let a long, trembling breath escape. She had just ended her show, walked away from a major contract, let go of years of hard work, and all because Miranda had pushed her, except not really. Miranda had only been the spark. The truth was, Kelly had been smothering under her own success for far longer than she'd admitted. She had been drowning in expectations, the expectation to be upbeat, approachable, endlessly giving, endlessly inspiring. Everyone wanted something from her. The network wanted numbers, the audience wanted joy, the industry wanted consistency. And somewhere in the middle of all that, she had forgotten herself. It took Miranda calling her fake, questioning her authenticity, accusing her of being a walking brand, for Kelly to finally understand that the fakest thing she'd done was pretend she still wanted any of it. As she straightened up, she thought about something Miranda had confessed: "Watching you be okay makes it harder to justify not being okay." That line had stuck with her, buried itself under her skin. Maybe they had both been performing, Kelly with her sunshine, Miranda with her darkness. Two sides of the same industry, two coping mechanisms for the same pressure. Maybe neither of them had it figured out. Maybe that was the most authentic truth either of them had spoken all day. Kelly pushed away from the wall and walked toward her dressing room. She knew what was waiting for her. Producers panicking, the network calling, publicists drafting statements, headlines exploding before she even wiped off her makeup. There would be questions, anger, confusion, and 1,000 demands for explanations. But for the first time in years, she felt light. Not carefree, just lighter. As if she'd set down a burden she'd been carrying for so long she forgot it wasn't part of her body. She had made a choice. She had chosen herself. Whatever came next, whatever chaos, whatever consequences, it would be real. And that, for the first time in a long time, felt like enough.